That's when I actually learned, like, oh, people are actually out here and get paid for that. I just didn't realize that was an option. The question I keep on getting is, how can I do this on my phone? I had the opportunity to do so many things just because I said yes without knowing, and I'll figure it out later, you know?
Welcome back to the Creative Block, where we talk about what it's like and what it takes to work full-time in the creator economy. My guest this week is a guy named Victor Tyler, and he's been working in the creator economy for just about a decade, and he's had every job you can think of, from being a creative director to an art director to being a full-blown content creator for brands on platform. You may have seen his face in a few small ads for a company called Artlist. He's worked with fashion brands, he's worked with tech brands, and he continues to do work in music videos and short films. Having had a unique experience of working in multiple different facets of the creator economy, I wanted to sit down with Victor and talk about the differences between being a generalist in the creator economy and being a specialist in the creator economy, because he has experience in both. One of the more interesting things that we talked about was the illustrious title of being a creative director and what it means to actually have that title for a brand. He had some interesting insights that I think might surprise you. We also talk about how social media platforms are catering towards episodic content rather than standalone content from individual creators. It's a very interesting concept, and I think the development of that over the next year is going to be something to look out for. So with that, let's get into the conversation with Victor Tyler on the Creative Block.
My name is Victor. I'm right now I'm like a freelance art director and content creator, kind of just everywhere at the moment.
If somebody says, "What do you do?" What's your elevator answer for that?
I create content. Create content for brands.
Nice. So for brands specifically, that's like where you found yourself the most?
Yeah. It's not where I really meant to be, but you know, it's kind of where I found myself after doing it for like 5-6 years straight.
Can you recall back like what you think was like a defining moment that sort of was part of the humble beginnings where you're like, I think I could do more of this?
I have a lot of those moments. I almost like separate my lives into eras. Like I had I would call it my agency era. I'm in an agency right now, but like the first agency I ever worked for, it was Humanant in Chattanooga, and they created.
They're great.
Yeah,
I've worked with them maybe a handful of times. They're delightful people.
Yeah, that was like a career defining moment right there. That's when I actually learned, like, oh, people are actually out here making movies and commercials and get paid for that. I just didn't realize that was an option. So that's kind of what got me interested and really made me learn more about what I was already interested in, if that makes sense. Because I always had cameras, but once I got there, I was like, okay, this is an actual direction you can go into. And that led me to wanting to be on YouTube. Humanant was really big on creating content for themselves. They're like, we need to make ourselves like a media channel. We need to have a YouTube channel and make what do you call it? Like episodic things.
Yeah, they do. They always have prided themselves as being thought leaders.
And that was another thing. Right when they made that little switch to wanting to do YouTube episodic stuff, they changed my title to content creator. And that was the first time I heard of that. And I kind of did a deep dive. And at the time, it really just meant like David Dobrik. He's kind of controversial right now, but David Dobrik, you know what I'm saying? Like that was what was a content creator. And I didn't really identify with that. Yeah. But, you know.
Dobrik,
yeah,
Neistat, Sarah Dietschy, that sort of era of it was a very strict definition. It was almost a strict definition of what a content creator / YouTuber specifically like was.
Yeah.
It had this very defined aesthetic almost to like how the content looked and how it felt and what it did.
Yeah.
And you are now sharing the same title as these people. Did that feel right or did that feel wrong?
Oh, I felt wrong. I'm not I'm not on YouTube or anything like that. I'm like, I don't create YouTube videos. And at the time, it's like an ego shift thing where I learned to let go of it. But or accept it, really. Back then, I was really into like cinematography and stuff, so it didn't feel right. And it didn't feel right until I actually started watching YouTube videos, because I never really watched YouTube like that. Not like 2018 creators where that term content creator, term YouTuber came into play and was becoming like a huge thing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really watch them. Then until I watched like Peter McKinnon and Matty Apoya and all of them, I was like, oh, this is sick. Yeah, I could do this.
Yeah. Well, because you're also discovering YouTubers inside of a niche where you're trying to learn things about your own craft. So you can't, it sounds like you came at it by trying to educate yourself in your own profession, regardless of like using the word niche or talking about being a content creator. You were like, it sounds like you were trying to be a better cinematographer.
No, 100%.
And by virtue of that, you found cinematographer YouTubers.
Yeah.
Was that a bit of an opening, a door that was opening for you? Or were you still just watching the YouTube to learn the content in the videos?
It was like a little bit of everything. Because knowing me back then, you know that I wanted to do a lot of different things. I didn't really learn by watching Peter McKinnon or Matty Hapoya. It was more like I saw them doing what they're doing, and then I was like, oh, this is like a genre, for example. Oh, this is a genre of video that I could make too. But I wasn't learning from them specifically. The people I was learning from, if we want to talk about niches, was music video cinematography. So it's people like YC Imaging. It was a guy named Creative Ryan. There was a guy, I can't remember, Tyler Casey or something like that. And it was like these people who were teaching us how to create music videos. You know what I'm saying? Like Cole Bennett was also one of them. 2016, I was really looking at his stuff, trying to learn and break it down. I wasn't really watching Peter McKinnon and Matty Hapoya.
That's really cool that you're is mentor the right word, or are these just the people that you gravitate towards in terms of like trying to hone your craft and like emulate the people that you looked up to?
Yeah, I looked up to them. They were like my mentor away from being a mentor, you know?
So it really started in the music video space. Do you think that was like the inflection point for you to really start being a professional image maker? Was music videos?
Yeah, 100%.
And is it because that was where you found the most success, or is it because that was where you felt most comfortable, or was it a combination?
It's a mix of things, you know. And if you want to go all the way back, because this is just like halfway. I was like, what, 23 maybe?
So 24? where are we? This is how many years ago?
Oh, 5 or 6 years ago. 2013 is really when I first started creating content. Didn't know that's what it was, but I was watching things like Loiter Squad, if you know what that is. Yeah. Like Tyler, the Creator and all that. And I looked up to them. Yeah. And I made my own little group here in Nashville called E-Rocks. Don't look it up, please. And that's when we started creating content. And that's when I got interested in like camera work and stuff. Yeah. I didn't know it was a job. The only reason I got into music videos was kind of because of that. One of the members of that E-Rocks thing was my friend, and he wanted a music video. I was like, sure. What is a... The only thing I know about music videos is like MTV stuff and like really big budget stuff.
Yeah, well, you do the thing where somebody asks you to do something and you always say that you can do that thing.
Yeah,
and then you figure out how to do it in between the yes and the start date.
Exactly. Exactly. No, 100%. I still live by that. When that happened is when I got on YouTube to look it up. You know what I'm saying? So it was like almost a natural progression of like, this guy wants me to do something. I don't know how to do it. Let me look it up. Let me blah, 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 blah. And we kind of created that music video and just, for lack of a better term, it just kind of waterfalled, you know? Yeah. I posted it. Somebody else hit me up. I was like, sure, I can do another music video, $50. Sure. And it kind of just felt like that. So music video was just something that came naturally. And I didn't really, again, try to get into it. It was just like, Colbin is doing this cool thing. This guy just asked me to do a music video. I look up to Cole Bennett and all these other YouTubers. Let's just keep trying to make and reiterate on that. And that's where my content really started.
And so did you start making content around the production of YouTube of music videos, or was it just music videos?
Not yet. It was just music videos. I didn't really get into recording myself again. I used to do it back in the day, like 2013, 14, around that time. But like educational content and really portraying myself as a content creator didn't come till way later, like 2020, 2021.
Yeah. So around COVID. Yeah.
Because of COVID.
So at the time, like we're talking 2015, right?
Yeah.
You are a music video producer and cinematographer, essentially.
100%.
And so that was really when the gun went off and you started sprinting.
Yeah, that's the initial start. And then, like I said, we went into Humanant.
Yes, and then
I learned a bunch of stuff of how to actually do it. I learned that it was an actual job that people do. Didn't know cinematography was like, I didn't know that people had like $1 million budgets to make music videos. I didn't understand any of that. And I didn't understand that till Humanant. So that's where the business part came in. And I was like, if people are making livings off of this,
Yeah.
Humanant would hire, not to put their business out there, but they'll hire a editor or whatever for 5 figures or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. People actually make money from this.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I learned the business side, how to actually do things.
Yeah. The economy part of the creator economy.
Right.
What were some of the difficulties of working in a more established company and having to slot into like their metrics and their ways of working after having been, a music video producer, largely doing your own thing?
Mm-hmm.
Now to be working with a dedicated team, like how was that transition? And what were some of the pitfalls that you found yourself falling into, if you did, and what were some of the things that you really thrived in?
I think a lot of what, for me, is a lot of internal things. I wasn't good at working in teams. Like I never was great at working in a team setting.
That's not the first time I've heard that about people that go from freelancing into agency life.
Yeah, it's hard. It is really hard when you go from, like, for example, a one-man band, which a lot of people I'm sure can relate to, especially now, to getting molded by a cinematographer and working as a PA or working whatever, having people in your ear telling you what to do, or being at an agency and you have absolutely no say at anything. It's kind of just like, do it.
Right.
When you're at the bottom, it's just like,
it's sort of, here's what we've promised.
Yeah.
Here's how much money you have. Here's when it's due.
Yeah. It's really difficult. And you don't, in my case, you didn't really have a say in it yet. It's kind of just like, here's the plan, go execute. And that was difficult for me because, one, I had a little bit of an ego with it. So it was like, I don't really want to be told what to do. I think I know everything, which I didn't. Absolutely don't. Still don't. That was just like a pitfall of mine.
Having a big ego. Well, having a big ego in the art world is a very common thing.
Yeah.
And it's just something that I struggle with the same thing. I assign a lot of ownership over the things that I make. I care very deeply about making good stuff. Yeah. And because of that feeling, there's a lot of ownership attached to the content. I feel like at the time, like you were feeling the exact same way.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. A lot of their stuff was so structured where it was like, the lighting needs to look like this, the angles need to be X, Y, Z. Because it's, at the end of the day, it's a commercial, it's an ad. I didn't understand that at the time. It's like, why can't we just like, be a little loose with it? Let's put it over here. Let's put the camera up here. Why not?
Yeah.
But there's like certain things that work back then. I'll say back then because it's like, it's so different now.
Yeah.
I feel like because of social media, like the landscape of what works is a little different than what worked in 2017 when we're making Hulu ads.
Yeah. It's a very different kind of piece of content.
Yeah, right.
What were some of like the risks that you took on these early stages of your career that really paid off?
A lot. I can list out a bunch. Like one, just picking up a camera.
Yeah.
Like just trying it out, never saying no. If I've gone through to so many like shoots. I've had the opportunity to do so many things just because I said yes without knowing, and I'll figure it out later. All of those little yeses. It's like I wouldn't be anywhere, and I'm a nobody, but I wouldn't be anywhere where I'm at today if I didn't say yes to these little small things. Like, yeah, I can do it. Yeah, I can do this photo shoot. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'll create content for this person. Blah blah blah. I've traveled to New York and had nothing in my bank account. I did it for free just to do it. You know what I mean? It was a great piece of content for the person to use, the artist, and like those little things taught me so much, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today, knowledge-wise or skill-wise, if I didn't say yes. So, I'm a big advocate of doing things for free sometimes. And, like, just saying yes without knowing. Like, you will figure it out,
I think there's something to be said about, like, the one for you and one for me cadence of okay, let's do this thing for myself. Doesn't matter what I get paid if I do. And then there's the, okay, let's do this for you. That will pay me. Yeah. So this is sustainable. And then there's other ones that are fruitful. Exactly. I think you can bounce between those.
I think another thing was not being scared to get on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I wanted to talk about because you are now what I would describe as a very conventionally defined content creator as part of 100%. What you do. You have a very strong relationship with Adobe and Artlist, and I'm sure there's a handful of other brands that you work with on a regular basis. So I would, in no uncertain terms, describe you as like an influencer and a content creator. At least part of at least part of how you are defined as a creative person.
Yeah.
So how did that sort of pan out? You mentioned that in the days of COVID, is that really where the humble beginnings for that happened? But like walk us through how you ended up doing that. Because I feel like a lot of people that hear this may be interested in going that route.
It actually started before COVID. So 2019, when, again, Peter McKinnon and Maddie Hapoya, I was just put onto it by this guy that worked at Humanant. I just got my title changed to content creator. I'm doing all this research. I'm like, okay.
A lot of dominoes are falling in the same.
Yeah, it's kind of just, okay. So like I had my GH5 at the time and I was like, I want to get into this YouTube thing, start making content. So I started walking downtown Chattanooga with a camera like this, like, okay, blah, blah, blah. And I never put out those videos. And then COVID hit and I was like, well, perfect time to like, step into this YouTube thing. So I did actually make a bunch of YouTube videos.
I saw a handful of them. You're just sitting in your car talking to the camera, like doing stuff like that.
Yeah. I had videos like I bought a random van.
I remember the van.
Yeah. And I like scrapped it all out. I documented all of it. And some of it I posted, some of it I didn't. But sometime in 2020, TikTok became really popular. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get on TikTok. I haven't seen anybody in the camera niche really pop off yet. Let me just try it out. So at first I started doing like music video related stuff. And then I kind of switched over to like, here's some camera tips.
Lighting for a phone, I think, was a really big one that I remember seeing.
The biggest, yeah.
Is that the bit that was your big viral hit?
Yeah, that was the one that actually like got me recognized, I guess.
Great video, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, yeah, that video was more like geared towards content creators. I realized content creators was like a big thing. Nobody gives a shit about the camera. Not majority of people.
There's a very small group of people on the internet that do care about those things.
Yeah.
And very small.
And the majority of the people who were on TikTok in the camera niche were talking about DSLR mirrorless cameras. I was like, okay. The question I keep on getting is, how can I do this on my phone?
Yeah.
Let's just make a bunch of content about phone stuff. You know what I mean? Like how to light with your phone, how to connect a microphone to your phone.
What was... That must have been the iPhone 14 back then.
13.
13. Okay, so decent camera, but not what I would describe as a good camera.
I think it's a good camera.
Yeah,
I still got it. I still record on it.
All right, so, but that's interesting because, if we compare that to like the iPhone 16 of today, it doesn't even come close.
Oh, no, for sure.
But that poses, I think, a really awesome opportunity for you. Because if you can make the iPhone 13 look as good as a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, which I think was the goal, that's valuable content. And I'm assuming that's where your head was at. And correct me if I'm wrong. But
no, 100%. My thing was always like, a phone is never going to be a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. Just point blank period. But majority of the people who are on TikTok don't need a camera for real. Like, stop asking me, what camera should I buy? Like when you're making makeup videos for TikTok, I'm all about camera quality and all that. But also, I think most people just want to know how to make what they have already look good, which for the most part is just light. You know what I'm saying? Like to make good content, make sure your audio is good.
Yeah.
Make sure your light is good. And it's almost there. You know? Make sure the content's good.
We say this all the time, which is like the camera is the least important part of making a good video.
Right.
Or making a good image, making good content overall. The camera is probably the least important thing.
No, yeah.
But you're right. Like lighting and story, like those are the first things you want to prioritize. And it sounds like you were able to tap into an audience that was looking for that information rather than just looking for like what's the best lens to put on my camera.
Right. Yeah. I just went about it a different way. And I do wish I did like maintain, like just all the way down that niche. I stopped because I was like, I'm not even interested in doing like iPhone videography. It's not even an interest. It's just something I knew that like people wanted. So I did it, it's not a regret, but I'm where I'm at right now without that.
You said that like you had that video do really well and then you sort of stopped.
Yeah. I mean,
instead of like niching all the way down.
Right.
And my question is like, that would have been like really becoming a specialist
Mm-hmm.
in that world. But I think there is a value to being a generalist these days, especially when it comes to like making things for brands, companies, and people. What are your thoughts on today being a generalist versus being a specialist?
I really don't think too deeply on it, to be honest. I just kind of lie where I lie, you know. What I'm doing in the moment is what I'm doing in the moment. Back then, when I was doing like the iPhone content, I just felt like it wasn't authentic to me. It wasn't no external like this is why not, you know. I had a lot of people coming to me that was more or less scammy, telling me how can I monetize my audience and everything that I kind of did it because they were telling me what to do and I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then I like stopped and I'm like, I'm not finna do no damn online course. I don't want to be a niche to where I'm making online courses for iPhone. I could have ran it up and all that, but I didn't want to. It didn't feel authentic. I was like, I'd much rather go the external route and just be good at creating content as a whole, like you're talking about, being a generalist and having these brands reach out for me to create content for them.
Yeah.
And not sell courses and stuff I don't want my name attached to.
Right.
So it's really like I didn't have a plan with it. It's just kind of I fell into it. Like I said, I fell into a lot of this stuff. It wasn't a planned out action.
Is it based on the fact that you don't want your face and name attached to just one specific thing, or is it just because that's just simply not the road you wanted to go down?
You know, it's not necessarily I don't want my face connected to XYZ. It was more of I'm a really feelings based person. Like even when I'm creating content, when I make videos, when I shoot photography, I'm really feelings based. I had nothing about the technical side or next to nothing. And when it came to like these different avenues I could have went down, it was just like it doesn't feel right. I don't want to do it, you know. And
so it's very intuition based decision making.
Yeah, it's intuition based. It's who I'm talking to. It's like reading the comments. That was a big thing. Like reading the comments when I post something specific that might have dealt with this new action I'm going to take. Like, oh, I'm planning to make a course. Let's read the comments.
Right.
Like, okay, yeah, it didn't. I got comments like that doesn't. Why would you make a course? That doesn't feel authentic, blah, 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 blah. Oh, you just wanted to sell us. I'm like, I actually didn't. I'm actually just, you know, online courses was a huge thing. And that's like how everybody was making their money.
It was a bit exhausting, to be honest.
100%.
It still is.
Yeah, it still is. And that's why I was like, I don't want to be a part of this whole, like, oh, get my online course and I'll teach you how to make your iPhone footage look great. You know, I didn't want to be a part of that narrative. And it's like I said, it's just intuition based. I knew that it wasn't authentic to me, so why would I do it for some money?
Fast forward into 2024, you have quite a lot going on, I think, because you are now operating as like a creative director. You're also, I'm assuming, still doing music videos, still doing cinematography. Obviously, you're still doing a lot of content creation online with your, you know, I would love to talk about your partnership with Adobe. I think that's so cool. You do actually do like conventional content creation for vertical delivery. So Instagram Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. And you're also operating as a creative director. I think there's so many people that want the creative director tag associated with themselves to the point where the phrase itself, I'm a creative director, has become a brand. Yeah. There's t-shirts, there's hats, there's beanies that say creative director on it. And so I would love to know the practical side of being a creative director so that the people that are buying those t-shirts know exactly what that means.
A lot of people call themselves creative director. I feel like anybody can call themselves a creative director if they bring ideas into reality. You know what I mean? If you make shirts and you're like planning out each seam of the shirt and the design and you're going through your team and telling you do this, you do that. We're doing every single aspect of this shirt.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a creative director role, right? If you're creating a poster and you have a graphic designer you're working with and you're just like, okay, I want the poster to be XYZ. You're kind of a creative director. You can call yourself creative director by just doing anything, in my opinion. don't shoot me. Like I think anybody can call themselves anything if they want. It gives them the confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Now for me, I call myself a creative director because brands reach out to me for a deliverable.
Mm-hmm.
I have to get the deliverable done. It's my creative vision. I send it back. Great. I just directed some creative, you know. I don't think it's that deep for me.
Yeah. So I think you have a good point. Like if you direct creative, you are a creative director.
Yeah.
If we really broaden it out, that is like a universe. That has to be a universal truth. When we scale it up
Yeah.
to the business side,
Yeah.
and like you were saying, like the money side, what does that start to look like? Where are the differences there?
There's a lot of things that you have to start taking into consideration. Like once you start dealing with budgets or like ad spend or, you know, these different things that you're almost looking for an outcome, the title kind of changes. You know, it's like, okay, you created something, but you have to make sure you're in scope. You have to make sure that at the end of the day, this piece of creative is actually delivering on what the client needs. Like, is it meeting the expectations from the marketing team and stuff like that? You know, like, does the copy actually portray what marketing initiatives that the client wants? Because a lot of the time, like, especially with the freelance creative side that I do, it's like we have this overall marketing initiative, which is to get more clicks on this specific site because we want them to know that we now have 4 or 5 new features that wasn't there before. I have to make sure that when I'm talking to the camera, the copy, the visuals, whoever I hire to do the design and all that, all has to come together and make sure that I am delivering on that promise that I might be able to get people from point A to point C, you know? And that's really what the creative director role is about to me, and making sure that we can do it all within scope again, like within the budget. When it comes to the brands that I work with, I'll say it like this. I have about 3 different sides to me of freelancing, and now I'm working with an agency where I'm an art director, not a creative director. A little different. Art director, and then I'm still somewhat doing freelancing, what I call myself a creative director on, with like photo and sometimes video. I'm not doing cinematography anymore, but like if somebody needs an idea for a video or a music video or a commercial, I sell that basically. Yeah.
Is that more of a producer's role for you?
No, it's really just people like the stuff I've created in the past and they want ideas for it. So it's like, I'll give you some ideas. You know what I mean? I learned a long time from a mentor that I had that a lot of the world's ideas and a lot of the things that are in our reality all came from a PDF. You know what I mean? You've worked for an agency before. Yeah. Everything is in a PDF.
Everything is in, well, for me, it was always in some weird Google Sheets thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Google Slides. Google Slides was like where every creative decision was birthed.
The agency,
so it's all, but it was inevitably exported as a PDF. You're right.
100%.
That's really funny.
And he told me, he was like, if you want anything in this world, just learn how to make a PDF that sells. Yeah. If somebody comes to me and says that they want product A and they don't know how to make content for it for the next quarter, they come to me. Right. And I'll be like, yeah, I got a couple ideas that we could do.
Is it like you ask them, like, what are their goals for the product? And then you develop a content plan to satisfy those goals? Or do they say, do they come to you with like we want a video like this one you did. Can you do that for this thing?
So yeah, that again, in this, I had like 3 buckets. In this bucket where people are just coming to me and asking for ideas, these are really like people who just started out on their business. Like it might be a clothing brand. It might be shoes. It might be they're selling insurance. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, whatever it is.
They don't really have any idea of what they're doing. So it's more like a social media audit, looking at what people are doing in the industry that they're in. And then like almost laying out mood boards, concepts of like what type of social could be popular, because you can't really tell. But evergreen content. Stuff that's always good to have on your website, on your social media, just digital assets, digital brand assets. It's more of just displaying that and kind of explaining what that could do for you for the first half. And then once they've worked with me for a little bit, then we can go deeper into like, okay, yeah, let's put these products on your website and let's make content all around this product, and let's get a funnel so we can get people from social media to clicking that button.
How has the goals of content like that, how has that evolved since you've been doing that?
I have this one artist that I've worked with for since I started, like 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we would always run ads, and we would always like brainstorm everything we can put out within a month or 2 months or whatever. And at the end of the day, I'm realizing, okay, really what these meetings are is he just wants to know how to get people from watching his Instagram once maybe to maybe popping up on their feed 3 times to downloading Spotify or going to Spotify, typing his name in, listening to his music. We're just trying to get people from point A to point B.
Yeah, just straight funnel.
Right. And once I like actually became cognizant of that, I'm like, oh, okay. People come to me in my DMs or in the email or whatever it is, and they're like, oh, I want a video. But they don't want the video. They want what comes from the video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They want customers.
They want customers. They want more money. They want more listeners. They want, it's not, they want me to make a pretty video.
And they think that video will do that.
They think the video would do it.
A lot of times that's correct because video is one of the most commonly used assets.
Yeah.
But I think that having those conversations with clients, potential clients and brands and things like that, and realizing what the content plan should be rather than what their initial idea is a super valuable thing, especially as a creative director and, as you put it, like an art director. So on that point, I would love to hear like your experience and the main differences that you find between creative direction and art direction.
Man.
First of all, which one do you like more?
I'm operating on 2 big different scales. When I'm creative direction is on a pretty small scale when I'm doing it. The art direction that I'm doing for XYZ agencies, it's on a huge scale.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's
probably
exciting.
very exciting.
And a lot of work. I like the small creative direction more, but I really do feel I enjoy art direction on the big scale and making content for these huge companies. But I would say I like creative direction for smaller businesses and like, people who are just starting out a little bit more, just because it's like, it's fun. That person is excited. I'm excited.
It scratches that creative itch.
Yeah. More of that.
Yeah.
It feels a lot more freeing to work in that bubble, but I still do get a lot of value. And, I really enjoy making these art direction for these bigger brands and having a bunch of money behind it and all that.
It sounds like it's still a very comfortable place for you to work, like as an art director. What do you think are like the main differences that you would want to point out between creative direction and art direction? Because a lot of times those phrases, those types of job descriptions, they're not necessarily flip-flopping, but they're always walking on the same road, and they're always like really closely knit. I think.
I think a lot of people use it interchangeably. Like,
I'm guilty of that for sure.
I do it too. 100%. If you look at my Instagram bio right now, it says art director.
Sure.
It did say creative director.
Right.
Sometimes you have to niche yourself on certain days. I think art director is a lot more niche. To become an art director, of course, is on the path to become a creative director. You become an art director. If you do it for 5-6 years, usually you become a creative director in an agency setting or even like a in-house setting. But I think the main thing is really focusing and honing in on the overall creative of the piece. You still are divvying tasks. You're still managing like the day-to-day creatives on your team. You're still having a general say in like the direction of whatever asset you're making. But I think the biggest thing, in my opinion, is making sure that like the scope, the budget and all that, you're not doing that as an art director.
No, you just don't have to worry about the logistics.
You're kind of just looking at, is this going to perform in the way that the creative director wants it to? That the marketing initiative, whatever it is, like, is it going to perform on art?
Just from an artistic point of view.
Yeah, from an artistic point of view.
Does this visually land? Like, does this do the things that I made match the ideas that they put on paper?
Exactly. Yeah, it's not. It's deep, but it's not as deep as like what a creative director would do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a much more focused position.
Yeah,
like you're singularly responsible for the visuals rather than like what the visuals will accomplish. Which I think is creative direction has to take that into account much more so than art direction. So it sounds like that's, having that weight off your shoulders can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel like art direction is fun when like I said, when you have money behind it, when you have the
Always.
team behind
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
when you have the copywriter,
Yeah.
when you have the designers, the motion,
Right. The
graphic
studio, the
artists.
lights, like
Yeah,
the crew.
it's
All that
it's
stuff.
fun. It's really fun because you get to hone in on this one thing, and then overall, I mean, you came up with the idea, you pitched it. Of course, you don't have final say in which idea is gonna get chosen or anything, but you come up with the ideas. You kind of pick your team.
Yeah.
You kind of, it depends on, like, again, I'm in the content creation space of art direction. I'm not in like the production space of art direction. So for me, it's like, yeah, you get to choose who you're working with, and you get to basically have a say in what this final piece is going to be. It's fun. It's just fun.
It does sound like a lot of fun. The creative economy is like sort of rapid prototyping itself. It's constantly doing its own tests on what works and what doesn't. How has it been evolving with the creator economy within your profession and your career? How has it evolved since you've really been fully engulfed in it?
It's really hard for me to say because I'm the type, I've kept up with every single trend for the most part in my mind, and not really creating within it. I like had a whole break from TikTok, and the only things that I've really worked in 2021 on TikTok, for example, it didn't work. Like, I took a year break. It didn't work in 2023. So like, I've noticed even like now creating on TikTok, it's like a lot of the time the culture changes around social media, but it's not necessarily the stuff that you're thinking of or the stuff that you're putting out isn't working. Does that make sense? Like,
Right.
I was thinking that, I don't know if you ever ran into, I have this series called Cool Places to Stand.
I love it. It's so funny.
All right.
It's so much fun to watch because it's just like, it's the baseline of this idea is just absurd.
Yeah. It's
like, it's
absurdist.
just sort of nonsense. It reminds me in a way of like old, like Monty Python Flying Circus type stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
Like Mad TV type stuff.
Yeah.
Weird SNL digital short type style content. It's just so strange.
Which, yeah, I mean, it's birthed from those ideas. It was birthed from a point of frustration from me. I took the year break from TikTok, and I think it was the top of, was it this year? Oh my God, it's been a long year. The top of 2024, I was like, okay, I need to get back on TikTok. I started creating like the stuff I used to create. Oh, tutorials, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, it's not getting any traction. And I got so fed up with it. And I was like, I really don't understand TikTok specifically. And I was like, okay, I'm just looking at what's happening on social media, the landscape. I'm going to set up my camera, and whatever comes out, comes out. And I couldn't think of any ideas. So
this was just the first thing that your brain said yes to?
My brain went to, what are people watching? And I'm like, a lot of this stuff is so stupid of what we're watching. It's just like brain rot content. You know what I'm saying? It's like people just talking about
awful,
random stuff.
Awful content.
Awful.
Devoid of value, looks terrible, sounds awful, and takes up too much time.
Yeah.
Like awful content. And it's doing so well.
So well. Exactly. So I was like, okay, break this down to its complete basic form. What's something that most people can relate to? Okay, standing, cool. I went to a random parking lot.
I like how the baseline is just having feet on the ground.
Exactly. Everybody can relate. Most people can relate. And it's like this thing to where I'm responding to the society and culture that we're in. Like, we will watch anything. I can act like an expert in anything, and people will watch and listen. And that was like the main concept of it. And it was supposed to be extremely satirical. It was going to be a one-off.
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to I knew people would like laugh at it or whatever, but I didn't think people would actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
I put it out there. People love it.
It exploded.
Yeah. And I don't
How
know
many
if you
views
know
is the
this.
first one at right now?
It actually is. It's not that many views. It was like a compounding effect. But where I'm getting to is it didn't really take off as a series when I first put it out in January. Like, the people I knew and maybe like 5,000 other people kind of tapped in.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, I made a TikTok, made a Reddit, made an Instagram, made a YouTube for Cool Places to Stand. Even trademarked it today. But I reposted all of that stuff. Didn't change anything about them. And made specific handles for it. Blew up. It has 14,000 on TikTok. 2 weeks.
Just for cool places to
For
stand?
cool places to stand. The most views I have on one of them is like 250,000, bigger than it ever was.
That is insane.
Yeah. And the whole thing is, I thought it wasn't working because of how TikTok was. You know, I knew it caught on a little bit, but I didn't think it worked on TikTok or Instagram or anything because of, you know, the format or whatever. It's long. They're a minute and a half. People, I'm talking slow. It's anti-content.
They are entirely too long for what they are.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
That's the point.
Like the fact, like you have a video about standing somewhere and you try 3 different stances and 3 different camera angles for like a nondescript intersection in a city that nobody can spot.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it doesn't look like you're standing on an intersection in downtown Nashville. Like that intersection could be wall. In Okeechobee, Florida, or it could be in Fargo, Minnesota, or Fargo, North Dakota. Right. I don't know.
Exactly. It is like people. It works. It works on TikTok.
It's so funny.
I reposted it, and the videos that didn't do well at the beginning of this year did extremely well last week. You know what I'm saying? And I thought it was my content, but sometimes it's not. You know what I mean? I don't think, it might be controversial to say, but I don't think algorithms and all that, it really has a big deal in what we're putting out. You know, I think it's more about the context we put it in. So like, I feel like it didn't catch on to me because of the context I put cool places to stand in. Yeah. It was off some dude's random TikTok. If you click on the link, it went to a random dude's Instagram. You know, it wasn't like a structure behind it. For some reason, I wanted to do an experiment 2 weeks ago, and I did all of that, put the everything in place, and just posted them again. All of them have above, 10,000 views on them. It's the same content. You know what I mean? Like,
it's just positioned in a more appropriate or more advantageous way for whatever reason.
For whatever that is. You know, I've been reading this thing, and this is kind of a prediction I have, I guess, that social media handles should almost be episodic. You know, these are episodes that we're tapping into. We brand them like TV shows, and then each piece of content is the episode. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then all of that leads back to you as a person versus to what I was doing earlier this year, where I was the person just making stuff and just putting it on my channel. I think it's going to be a different thing where it's like we create these, like, I'm sure you're not going to, are you going to put this on Nick Frand or at, the creator economy?
Yeah. Podcast? So that's actually specifically why I rebranded my own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Because I am who I am. Like, I'm Nick Friend, but I am a creator attached to the Creative Block.
Yeah.
So the YouTube channel is the Creative Block. The podcast is the Creative Block. And all of the content that I post is underneath that guise. Yeah. But what that does is that frees me up to be myself. And it also frees up the Creative Block to be its own brand without me.
Yeah.
Right. And it sounds like that's what you've been able to do with Cool Places to Stand, is it's now not predicated on Victor Tyler being there. Right. It's just predicated on having a cool place to stand. So you could have like a guest star on Cool Places to Stand and it would still be brand accurate.
Exactly. We're making TV shows.
So episodics are coming back.
I think so on social media. I think that people want something that they know what they're getting. You know, if you follow something called at Cool Places to Stand, you're not going to get a 6 spots to sit.
Yeah, no, you're not. You're
not going to get.
Well, you're also not going to find like somebody reviewing, ramen or like best ramen places. Like that could be on, Jane Doe's TikTok channel. It could be reviewing ramen, a Get Ready With Me, and like best cocktails of 2025. Like those all 3 things could be attached to Jane Doe. But if I go to Cool Places to Stand, I'm not seeing any of that. Yeah. I know exactly what's going to be there.
Exactly. And
that's an interesting prediction to see like how that. I'm excited to see how that idea evolves because I think that's a pretty good bet.
Yeah,
I would be pretty bullish on that idea.
I know that people want to be included in something, right? Like we're making these communities, and when you make a community so specific that anybody can kind of be a part of or identify with, it's almost like this. It's a perfect storm, you know? Because now...
Because you have a very low barrier to entry for this idea.
Low.
very low barrier of entry, because like the barrier of entry is just being able to stand upright,
Right.
or just not even stand upright, just be awake.
Because
Because like I can bring a chair and
Right.
like be next to you, be like, hey, this is a cool place to stand.
Mhm.
I'm Victor. This is my friend who sits. He's Nick.
That's funny.
Like
That's funny.
like you could do that. There's
Yeah.
the opportunity to do that. But like there's also the opportunity, I think, for like going live.
That's a plan this week.
Yeah.
I'm going live standing. It's
That's
going to be amazing.
hilarious.
But what I found is that
That's
the
so funny.
the more I really tune into this character in this episode and really tune in like the inside jokes,
Mm-hmm.
the more people contribute.
Yeah.
So on Reddit, first time I made a Reddit community, and I was like, post your cool places to stand.
That's so brilliant.
People love
That's
it.
so brilliant.
On TikTok, people are tagging me in these places where they're just standing, and they're doing their own cool places to stand. Bro,
People are
I
just
see it. It's coming.
standing.
Yeah, it's just standing. But even if you do the most complicated thing, you want it's not complicated, but like a cooking show, that's pretty complicated.
They can be.
It
Like
can
I
be
used to work on Maddie Matheson, and we did 6 cameras.
Okay, yeah, that's complicated. But you can be outside of the standing realm or whatever, and you can make a cooking show and only have XYZ type of content on that cooking show. Like I think that's cooking with Kaya. I haven't really looked at her stuff or anything like that, but she's a good example too.
With who?
It's like cooking with Kaya. She's kind of getting viral because I think she's attractive or whatever. I think that's more of why she's blowing up. And it's like, that's the conversation around her specifically, but she makes great cooking content.
Yeah.
She's blowing up, but
Like irrespective of how attractive she is, she's actually like genuinely good at cooking.
no, she's actually good
That's
at cooking. Like it's actually good stuff that she's making. I'm just saying like the conversation, unfortunately.
You think that's what's opening the door for a lot of people?
No, that is the discourse that's happening around her channel.
Got
like
it.
if you scroll and you're on that side of TikTok,
Yeah.
Instagram, like people are like, oh, I watch Cooking with Kaya because blah 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 blah
Right.
blah. Or you have those memes where it's like, is your boyfriend watching Cooking with So
Sure.
that's like a part of what's blowing her up. But she's genuinely good at cooking and makes great content. All that aside, she has made a show about cooking.
Mm-hmm.
She's getting invited to these streams because she has a show about cooking.
Yeah.
People are collabing with her
Because she's a cook.
because she's a cook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She has a show and she has her own separate account. These things aren't happening I don't think it's a secret or anything. I think people just need to tap into like making these separate TV shows
Yep.
for themselves,
Yeah.
and stop posting it at like, I don't think influencers are dying, but like shaping yourself around the context of the influencer where it's like, okay, I'm going to Miami
Right.
and then I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Now
Yeah.
I'm cooking. Like, I think if we niche down, have niched episodes, and then you can be the generalist that you want to be. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
So is it sort of like creating a vibe that people can resonate with rather than creating a character that has a vibe?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like,
Because like you're not following Jane Doe, you're following like, oh, Jane Doe is doing this thing.
mhm.
So it's attached to like, I feel like it's
Exactly.
almost attached to a vibe.
Yeah.
Because like Cool Places to Stand it's super simple.
Mhm.
Like I'm astounded by how well it works, and I'm really happy about that. But it is almost always like very well done. The
Yeah,
audio
I
is
try.
very good.
Yeah.
The composition is exceptional.
Mhm.
There's a lot of really high quality things attached to it, and it's very filmic. It has a very narrative aesthetic to it, and it punches well above like UGC or influencer content in terms of its quality.
Mhm.
And that's not to suggest that like using a great camera is what makes this good, but I think that is an ingredient in the recipe.
No, for sure.
The Cool Places to Stand vibe is not going to be indistinguishable from other things. It is very much distinguished,
Mhm.
which I think is like what people are gravitating towards. I think that is a present tense motif
Yeah.
among content that's being created these days. The Cool Places to Stand vibe is definitely like a strong vibe. It's very well crafted.
Appreciate
The funny thing is because you like just threw it together,
Mhm.
and then just by virtue of your knowledge and predispositions to content creation, that's
Yeah.
what happened.
No, 100%.
Which is I think that's absolutely great. But something that I ask every guest, in a perfect world,
Mm-hmm.
what are a few changes that you would like to see to this creator economy?
I would love to see just the creator economy as a whole be more, one, innovative, and one, two, like, just have more intention behind things, or good intentions behind things.
I think that's a very important distinction to make.
Yeah.
Like you it sounds like you wish there were better intentions behind
Yeah.
the creator economy.
No, 100%. Because if you go on YouTube, I think YouTube is a very good example of this. There's a lot of brain rot content
Yes.
that's just has spread, like faceless YouTube videos, AI, voiceover, general whatever videos. Oh, scary stories to tell. I love horror YouTubers. I hate the new YouTube channels that are horror. Like they grew huge. They got like millions of subscribers, but it's just reading Reddit horror stories with a VO voiceover.
Yeah.
Can't stand it.
And it's usually not even a specific voiceover thing. It's like one we all know is an AI voiceover.
Yeah, like it's 100%. You can just tell, and I just think like it's scummy to an extent.
It is.
I
agree. I think there's an inherent amorality behind that kind of content.
Because I mean, they're making a lot of money.
Sure,
they're making money, like a bunch, and that's really all that they're looking to do. Whoever is behind most of these faceless YouTube channels, and I don't have a problem with people making money off content. I make money off of content. I will run it up. Trust me. I don't care about making money per se. It's just like a lot of us do it for a reason. I mean, for me, I don't really know why I create content or why I like this. Creating content is something that I've been doing since 2013. I don't know what else to do. You know what I mean? I have no other skills, so I'm like stuck in this. No, but it's something that's really authentic to me. Just creating stuff and putting it out. I just wish that we have better intentions about putting stuff online. I, again, don't care if you're just in it for the money. I just care that we put out stuff that's authentic to you and you really enjoy the stuff that you're putting out and you're trying to innovate and you're trying to do something a little bit better into the world. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's really bad and we don't need to add to it.
No, not at all. So it sounds like you really wish that the quality deficit would be eliminated.
I wouldn't say it depends on what the quality mean. Like, I just wish that people
not from a technical standpoint. I think from like an authenticity, a storytelling,
exactly, yeah,
and intentionality.
Yeah, intention. It's just have pure intentions when you create content.
What would you say is your favorite thing about the creative economy?
That anybody can, be a part of it. It's a double-edged sword. Anybody can make content online. Anybody, for the most part, with the right resources, can create content, put it out, grow a following, make a living off of it. It's amazing.
Victor, thank you very much for being here.
I
appreciate your insight, and I really appreciate talking to you.
Yeah, great to be here.
Thanks.